Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Actually, a wet afternoon and evening here in Auckland, New Zealand. And welcome to the Macro Lounge podcast. I am your host, Chris Bold, and of course, as always, with the lovely and extra sparkly today, Rachel Mead.
Yes, those of you who are watching the video, I have bedazzled my microphone, and it is now pretty and sparkly, just like my headphones.
I feel chronically underdressed, and I feel I've been stitched up. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I saw someone else with a sparkly microphone do a podcast on Instagram, just came up on my feed, and I was like, well, now I feel like I have to do it. Self-control, 1, Rachel, 0.
You haven't missed much of it. There was a few little spots on there you could probably squeeze a few more on, but I think you've done an exception.
I actually can't do the bottom bit, because otherwise I won't be able to pull the microphone out.
First world problems. Well, you could make an enclosure.
I could.
Really, like maybe mirror sparkles and stuff. That would really make the producer happy. She'd be like, oh. So anyway, so today, what are we going to talk about? We are going to do a little bit of a recap of the ICN South Island Champs that was held just this weekend. And again, as a little bit of a disclaimer, we are not sponsored or affiliated or receive any form of promotional consideration from the people at ICN or from any federation for that matter. A little bit of how did we clarify this one, Rachel? We weren't actually really there to review the show. We were there en masse to support the lovely Rachel Mead in the competition. So if we miss anybody or don't cover it, we just weren't paying that close attention. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. We did, obviously, we were looking more at bikini and swimsuit and runway because those were the categories that I was competing in. I actually didn't see a lot of anything because obviously I was competing, so I was either backstage or on stage. So I'm going off kind of photos that I've found and the amazing live stream from ICN. Huge shout out to ICN for that live stream. It is fantastic. So I have been using that to refer back a little bit. Unfortunately, can't access the first half of the show anymore, but I have used it for the second half. So yes, I apologize. Chris apologizes because he was obviously helping me out a lot with getting me ready for my categories and getting my tanning touch-up sorted because I did rip my tan off a couple of times with all my outfit changes.
Yeah, that's one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Outfit changes, 3 of them in one show.
And they can't be the same kind of shape outfit either. That it's different coverages, obviously, yes. Just to make
we did have an entire minivan, and it was really just the 3 of us, and there was a lot of suitcases, and I don't know how many suitcases you need for a bikini because I was gobsmacked. I was like, but we got there. We did have an eventful start to the trip. We were supposed to arrive in Christchurch at 5:30, and I think we landed at about 10:30, and then which would have been a minor panic if it wasn't for the fact that we were carrying tanning equipment with us, so we were well prepared, which was a bit of a godsend. But when you're spray tanning in Christchurch at 12:15 at night, it's a little brisk for young Rachel. I mean, I was fine. I was in hoodies and long pants. You can't say the same for Rachel.
It was.
We got there. Yep, we got there. We got there. So that was good. But yes, all present and accounted for. So that was the main thing. It was a good show, all in all. We have been asked to go nicely on the president for the ICN because she was emceeing for the show and apparently was well outside her comfort zone. But we'll give her a solid B+. Room for growth. But she did really well. She held her own, and you could tell she was a little bit stressed by the end of the day. But shout out to Brenda and also for sending us through the total scores because me being a moron and paying attention on Rachel, I forgot to write anything down. So. My bad.
And also shout out for letting me do my check-in just a little bit late after said flight delays because obviously we arrived at 10:30 at the airport, so we did miss check-ins.
Yeah, we kind of miss it, which is, ladies and gentlemen, is a lesson to those that are traveling to bodybuilding shows. Probably do plan to be there a little bit earlier than we did.
Yes.
So that was, but to be fair, we weren't the only ones. We did see a couple of other, competitors floating around on the plane as well, who had a petrified look on their face. So it was quite fun. And we were just chilling, like we normally do, at least on the outside. So, but we made it. That was the main thing. And they had a good number of athletes, somewhere between 75 and 100 individuals. A lot of crossovers. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. And, but yeah, there was all in all. Show ran very well, had a really good live stream. There was, a lot of very good quality athletes. We will, unfortunately, gentlemen, we've deleted all the results for the men because we only focus on sparkles. So unless you start wearing sparkles on your posing suits, we're probably not going to talk about you. So I apologize for that, guys.
So, shall we get started then on
why not? Who was first up?
So first up, we did have women's bodybuilding. We did only have 2 people. I apologize if I pronounced anything incorrectly. So does Chris. So just disclaimer there. In first place, we had Rana Rubin and Jada Sutcliffe. Again, I don't have any photos. I'm so sorry, guys. I do know Jada was one of my clients, though, so I did see her. Unfortunately, I didn't see Rana, so I can't really talk too much to that one.
Was Jada the one with the fabulous Spider-Man swimsuit?
No, that was Danya. Jada was the other fabulous purple suit.
Of course, purple, fabulous. How rude of me to mistake the two.
Yes, no, she had the beautiful silver inside with the neon purple.
We would of course be remiss for not being obvious in stating the fact that there were at least 20, 25 fantastic swimsuits up there by the wonderful Accentuate. No plug intended for the lovely person over there. That was good. All right, so very small, but that's not unusual in any federation. And bodybuilding, women's physique, women's bodybuilding in New Zealand, unfortunately. Well, actually, I don't think it's just New Zealand. It's worldwide, really. Very, very small numbers. And that's no reflection on the ladies that were competing. That was the division that they feel most comfortable in and suits their physique. And both of them did a really wonderful job. Yeah. And then we moved on to the next very big class. And this is a really thing about South Island and the IFBB as well. South Island's really strong on figure. It's like every show that I've been to with the NZIFBB recently, that's been the strongest figure class in the whole year. Everywhere else you're lucky if you get 4, whereas there was 15, 20 girls in figure across the 2 classes. Yeah, and there was some really, we had some really, really good, solid, strong classes in there. The novice had 5 in both classes. There was 30 plus, there was 4, and in the 40 plus there was 6, and there was 7 in the 50 plus, that was actually the class of the figure, I thought, in the figure. And then there was obviously the open as well. There are 2 figure classes in ICN, which I still struggle to get my head around the difference, but we were lucky enough to be given a couple of cheat sheets from the ICN on what the difference is. So you've got, the first up is the Ms. figure, and then you have the Ms. Classic figure. Very, very similar. Ms. figure is more got feminine muscularities, an X-frame symmetry, conditioning, posing, and presentation with a little bit more capped in the shoulders, 6-pack, and a wide and defined back. Conditions probably a little bit harder than the Classic. And then the Classic figure is more with an emphasis on symmetry and proportion, and a little bit more, say, equal development with a bit of flared quads, and the conditioning is not quite as high as, say, the Ms. figure itself. Does that sound right? Get that right?
Yep. So yeah, it's more like, in very brief forms, I would say a little bit more shape based Miss Classic, Classic figure. A little bit more focus on shape and just a little bit less hard, so a little bit softer, fuller look.
Yeah. And which is why you saw a difference in results. And there wasn't really a huge amount of crossover there were a couple of girls crossed over from figure into Classic figure, which makes sense because the judging criteria was completely different in those 2. There were a couple of girls who did have a little bit of a salty look at themselves on stage when they got their placings in different classes. And it was kind of like, okay, poker face, ladies, poker face.
Okay, actually, let's make a note of that. Yes, everyone wants to win. Sometimes you won't be happy with your placings, but it's really, really obvious on stage if you look disappointed. So try to at least hold a fake smile. We know that it might be fake, but that's okay. Just try to smile because you can see it. You can see it.
You could see it from where I was sitting, and I wasn't sitting at the front table. But that being said, there was a lot of good sportsmanship. But I guess to move along in the figure class, there were a lot of girls in each class. The novice class, the top 3. In third was Hester Furi, and then in second there was Stephanie Harvey, and then taking that one out was Mon Smedley in the novice, which they split into 2 classes. Don't know why. It wasn't done on height. I don't understand how that works. So maybe Brenda can explain that to me. In the second class, you had Jada Sutcliffe in third, Anna Dungy in second, and then Trish Cottier was in first. None of those girls were in the figure 30 plus. And that's another really cool thing I think should be noted was that there is a lot of the age class ladies in the ICN figure class in the 30, the 40, and the 50 plus, which is pretty cool to see. Personally, I thought there was a few too many crossovers. There were ladies that were doing 40 and 50 plus, and it's kind of like, pick one. You don't need to be coming back on 30 seconds later, which contributes to a long show day for everybody involved, just in general. As I said, there were 238 crossovers. That's ridiculous. And it's great because you see so many people on stage. It just makes for a long day. But that being said, the 30 plus was taken out by Michelle Visser. Stephanie Caruso was in second, Queenstown, I believe. Actually, no, she's Canadian. Shouldn't say that. She'd get upset with me. 40 plus in first, again, Michelle Visser. And in second was Trish Cottier. And then in the 50 plus, you had second was Trish Cottier and first was Karina Scott. And then, of course, there was a 60 plus with Kathy Pankhurst as well. In the open, again, you had the top two was Michelle in second and Karina Scott in first, who obviously went on to take the overall as well. I thought Karina was a real standout figure competitor. When they said she was in 50 plus, I literally looked at the guy sitting next to me and went, "What the? Did somebody ask her for ID?" Because I'm 50 plus, and I tell you what, she looks a hell of a lot better than me. To be fair, that wouldn't take much.
It doesn't.
Thought I'd get that one in before you get a chance. Thank you very much. Moving right on.
Fair enough. No, I will also say I made a little note because I did write a couple of notes on just little things. I did also really like Michelle's conditioning. I thought she had some really good conditioning for figure, just being a great athlete. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that as well for our second place in the open, Michelle.
Yeah, there was some really good conditioning, I thought, right across in the figure classes, particularly in the back shots. I thought there was some really good conditioning in there. There was some interesting hair coloring going on as well. Number 22, I can't remember who that was.
Hey, it matched the suit.
Yeah, it did. That was the purple. It was rocking all the way around. But I thought, like, the conditioning of also number 23, I thought she was in really strong shape as well. And she was in 23?
Should I find a number 23?
Yep, 23. Stephanie Harvey.
Stephanie.
She was second in novice. I thought she was a real standout. But yeah, I thought the figure was a really competitive class. And then obviously next up was the classic figure. Was that next up, right?
Yes, classic was next. In third place, we had Renita. And then second place, we had Trish Cottier. And first place, we had Stephanie Harvey again.
Jeez. Stephanie was definitely a standout in that class. Again, probably had a little bit more of that, a slightly more classic taper shape that they were looking for, and not quite as overly muscled as in the actual figure shape as well.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have any of the photos from this, so I can't contribute much here.
I think we were having a tanning malfunction backstage, so I had to go running back and take care of that.
Oh, we were, yes, because and my dress when I put it on.
Yes, it was kind of like, oops. All right, well then we got it sorted.
We actually skipped runway, did we? I think
no, we haven't got there yet. Runway's after swimsuit. We haven't got there yet. You're still putting your swim. You were still putting your swimsuit. Oh, true.
No, you're right. Sorry, I am very.
You were busy backstage fixing people's bikinis as per usual, Rachel. That's what.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was a fair amount of that going on backstage. So if you ever do see the lovely Rachel backstage, she's probably got a thread in one hand and a needle between her teeth, and she's probably sitting down on the ground in a lotus position with umpteen bikinis surrounding her, and everybody else is freaking out. She's like, there's no problem.
I will say, though, hand sewing with tan was horrible. I'm really glad I actually didn't have my nails done. I actually forgot to get my nails done for the show, but I had tan on my fingers, and it was so slippery, so I was really struggling to actually push the needle through and pull it. So I had to use the ground to help me out and pull it through with my teeth. So that was interesting.
I was just impressed you didn't stab yourself with it at one stage. I was like, this is going to go straight through a thumb.
I'm impressed too, because I usually do.
And I'm thinking next time I'm bringing a first aid kit because I was nervous. I was nervous. Who else?
Anyway, sorry, we were talking about classic figure.
Classic figure open. There were 5 in that. Third was Hester Fudi. Second, Michelle Visser again, and then Stephanie Caruso took this one out. I felt that the open class conditioning was probably not where it should have been. I think for a regional, fine. Obviously, there's still 4 or 5 weeks to nationals, so people can bring it in a lot tighter. But I know there were some disappointment around in that class, but I think being the picky SOB that I am, I think that some of these ladies just need to stop maybe complaining about where they placed and just put their head down, bum up, and get back to doing cardio. But I thought Stephanie had really good lines. Her shape is really, really good for that class. But again, I think probably 4 or 5 weeks away from being ready. So,
well, I mean, that makes sense with the nationals coming up anyway.
Yeah. And people
right.
shouldn't be peaking now anyway, right? They should be peaking later on. All right. Then next coming up was one of the classes we were down there for. I don't know why. That was the Ms. Swimsuit class. Now, for those of you not familiar with how the ICN classes work, there is a difference between the swimsuit and the bikini. So the swimsuit class is a little bit, judging is based around symmetry, posing, and stage presence. It's very similar, almost identical posing to the bikini, to be fair. Presentation, condition, and muscle tone. More of an hourglass look. Similar muscularity, probably to bikini, what they're used to, but less on overall tone and muscle. And to be brutally honest, at the risk of getting myself in trouble, I don't feel that this class I don't think it was judged by each pose. There's 4 poses, and I'm sorry, judges, it's your job to do, and I'm just a grumpy old bastard sitting in the audience, and I probably have a little bit of bias towards my client, obviously, which we all do, but I do feel that, because it's what I do, I watch the judging panel as much as I watch the competitors. I feel that the first pose was judged and the 3 others were ignored. But again, I'm not saying that the placings weren't right. I'm just saying I think there could have been a bit more attention paid to that. Sorry, guys. But first timer was Lily Tarari, who I thought looked stunning. A couple of these swimsuits, I believe, were yours, weren't they, Rachel?
A couple of them were. What colour was Lily wearing? I don't have the photo of her. But no, I have a note there that I really liked her shape and her structure. Oh, I think she was in a purple swimsuit, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So I thought she had a really nice structure and shape for swimsuit.
Yeah, she did too. And I think she's got a real promising future as well, because, she's, as you said, first timers and to get up there, and then by herself too. There wasn't anybody else in the first timers. Then you had novice. There were a few more girls than that. I'm not sure if it was Tasha's first time, but she was definitely a novice. I think it was her first show. Number 40, she was in a red swimsuit, and she took out novice. Also took out open. But there were 4 girls in that. So you had Marcina McLean was in 4th, Sydney Fremista was in 3rd, Tasman Hepburn was in 2nd, who I thought showed some good promise for that class as well. But Tasha, she had real good stage presence and
beautiful stage presence.
Yeah, and a beautiful front pose. She really just nailed that, and I thought she looked really, really solid in that division. And yeah, so she was definitely good. Then you went on to the 30 plus, smaller class. There's only 3. So Anna Marie Hampton, who took out the prize for the most interesting posing routine in a pose down for swimsuit. We'll leave it at that if you didn't see the Y stream. She'll probably growl at me later for saying that. Second was Jackie Dos Santos, who was really good to see her up there. She had some really colourful bikinis and swimsuits. And I understand has had a bit of personal tragedy in the last year, so send out our condolences to her for that.
I don't think I saw her in her swimsuit.
I think she was in some bright colour.
So helpful.
Remember. Well, I'm colourblind. What difference does it make? She could have been wearing pink with polka dots. I wouldn't know.
You would see the dots.
Yeah, it's true. I would tell that, but there were some dots. I don't know.
Anyway.
Then Marcina McLean was in 3rd in that class. And then we came to the one that we were all there for, which was the Open. This was, I thought, was a really close fight. And even though the lovely Rachel was in that class, I thought that it could have gone either way. To be fair, again, I think this comes down to the fact that the ICN do have 4 poses in these classes, unlike, say, the IFBB, which really only has 2. This, I think, went a little bit too fast. The decision was made off the first pose. I'm not saying the results would have changed, so I don't need every ICN judge coming down on me saying, "Oh, well, we did this and we did that." I'm just sitting in the audience and giving you my opinion, and that's all it is. But it was a really good class.
Opinions only. This is opinion. It's not negative on anyone. It's just thoughts.
No. Because the Open class I thought was really, really strong. I thought Antonia did really, really well.
I really liked Antonia. I thought her conditioning was fantastic. Her back shot was phenomenal.
She was wearing one of your suits?
She was, the pink one. I thought she had fantastic, conditioning, good amount of muscle. I think possibly just needs to work on a little bit of confidence on stage with her presentation. But yeah, her back shot was absolutely phenomenal.
Then we had the Queen in second, Rachel. That was, I mean, I can't say enough actually, but she looks stunning.
There was improvements that I need to make.
There was improvement. I did mention to Rachel immediately after the show she needs to open her shoulders up when she does her front pose. She kind of got a little bit lazy and pulled her shoulders forward, which sort of doesn't make the full use of her height because Rachel's a tall athlete, so when she stands tall, she looks a lot more elegant and a lot more open.
My posing wasn't the best. I think my presentation was fine, but the actual hitting the pose, I can definitely improve.
Yeah. Side pose, great. A back pose, I thought was pretty good, considering 5 weeks into prep. The swimsuit, I thought was a really good color on you. That was really nice. I like that color.
It is my color.
That's definitely your color, so we'll be keeping that one.
I will be making some small adjustments. I think the front was just not quite right. I made it a little bit early. I made it a bit too early.
Yeah, you usually leave them to like 5 minutes before you go on stage, and then you're finishing it off. That was the problem. But Tasha, I thought, had a beautiful front pose. I mean, she's got a real nice shoulder to. She's got that real nice sort of symmetry taper that they look for the silhouette, and her stage confidence is freaking off the charts. I mean,
it was phenomenal.
She must have a background in dance or something, because she just smashed that. But I thought the swimsuit was really good. It's actually, I think it's a really exciting class. Probably say like with the IFBB where they've got the fit model coming in. I think swimsuit's a really good class to bring people into the competitive side of bodybuilding, because you're not quite as exposed as the bikini. So I hopefully we continue to see more of that. Tasha also took out the overall on that one, and the runner-up in swimsuit was again the fantastic Anna Marie Hampton.
I do also want to say, just in case she listens, because I remember looking at Tasha backstage and seeing her swimsuit and just how she looked, and I was like, yeah, she looks incredible. She just, like, even looking at her like backstage, you could see she just looked phenomenal, and you wanted to look at her, even though she wasn't like actually trying to pose or anything. She was just having a conversation with someone, and you just want to look at her. She really draws the eye in. Yeah,
she's got she just has that a look, that you just it works. Like it's this right level of personality combined with physique, and I think she on stage she's very hard not to look at. And I don't mean that from anything other than from an athletic perspective. She just sort of has that. You go, she's really pulling that off well. Then moving on to the next one of the day, the sports model. This is one this is the one where they have the matching outfits. Is that right?
Yes, they have their little like sports bras and like booty short things. Like I know you don't.
Yeah, you can't call those things shorts. They're not shorts. I don't know what the hell you call them. But they do have really cute sneakers. I like.
They do. I do love the sports model category. Like, although there's no sparkles and it's all one color, but it is a really fun category, and it's really nice to be in sneakers, and the outfits are very cute.
I do actually like the fact that it's standardized. When you show up for your registration, or in our case, if you show up, that they give it to you, and it sort of takes away from, you're not looking at who's got the best bikini cut for them, or who's got this or the other thing. Is what they get. So I think that's a really interesting thing. I think from a judging perspective, I think it would probably make it a lot easier, but you'd have to ask the judges that. But it was a big lineup in there. I think there was 3 in the under 23s, or the juniors, I guess we would call that. And Tasha McCauley again took that one out. I think that this is her class. I think this is where she really, because she's quite powerful. Quite powerfully built.
She's got that really nice bubbly muscle. Like her delts are really like full and bubbly. I think she is kind of very sports model when you look at her.
I think
not to say she didn't do amazing in all her other categories, but yeah, if I think of sports model, that is kind of the look. Her look is what I would be thinking of.
And can you get the idea, ladies and gentlemen, that Rachel's taking the politically correct side today, and I'm probably going to get myself in a shitload of trouble. But that's okay.
I'm a nice person. Mostly.
All right, you're the nice person. I'm the grumpy old bastard. That's right. All right, I see how this is. Back to the Bulgarians for Rachel.
Hey, everything I'm saying is true. I do think, I'm not Okay, I've lost my brain right now, but everything I'm saying is true. I don't give false hype, is what I like to say to people. If I'm giving, especially if I'm giving like specific comments, I don't lie about those. If I just like am like, yeah, great, then yeah, maybe I'm being a little bit nice. But if I'm saying like, yes, they did this particular thing really well, that is me being 100% honest.
Yeah, I'm much the same as I'm not going to blow smoke up anybody's ass, but I'm also not going to pull them to pieces just for the hell of it, unless they ask me to. Then I will be brutal. I always say, people ask me for feedback. So, do you want the direct sugar-coated version, or do you want me to be nice
salty
about this?
version.
And they always go, oh no, give it to me direct. You go, are you sure?
I think when you ask that in future, you need to say, do you want the sugar coated or do you want the salt coated?
That's probably true.
Sugar or salt?
Yeah, but they always go, give it to me straight. You're like, all right then.
And then they come out like, ah!
At which point my wife is like, then you learn. Anyway, moving on. So Tasha was also in the first timers of this class. She took that out. Again, I think she did really, really well in these classes. And I think she's got a real good shot with this one. I think this to me, it just speaks more to what she is. Kate Miller Palatashi, number 58. Sorry, Kate, we screwed that up. Was in second, and Caitlin Mason was in third in that class. And that was I thought that first timers class was really good. And I'm never really a big fan of first timers because you're not really comparing apples. Well, I mean, it's as a class, particularly say in the IFBB where obviously they have height classes as well as opposed to just novice and open. So if you've got a first timer or a junior or whatever like that, and you've got 12 girls in there that are all different levels of height and different levels of whatever. I always find the first timers is a real tough one, and particularly from a judging perspective because you're not comparing apples with apples.
It would be very hard to judge. I agree.
But I think that was a really good class, and it shows good future for that class going forward. And then you had two novice classes. I don't know how they split these. It wasn't split by height or anything like that. It's just novice class 1, novice class 2, and there were 5 girls in each. Sarah Viju took out class 1 with Hayley Erskine in second and Dev Spark in third. And then in class 2, it was Tony Ashbourne in first, Kate Miller Palatishi again in second. Sorry, Kate. And then
is it Cat?
In third.
No, there's no
Cat.
E.
Oh, that's Cat. Cat. Oh, Christ. See, this is why I'm retired from judging because I can't get names right. In the sports model novice, and then again we moved into the age categories, the 30 plus. Hayley Erskine again took out the 40 plus. Esther Foodie took out the 30 plus. Anna Marie Hampton did a bunch of handstands, which was really, I was like,
it's quite cool. I think it's well suited to that category for handstands because it's sports model. It is quite cool to show that you are sporty.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the really cool thing about it is it's a little bit more functional. Is that a word for it?
Yeah, well, I feel like because it's more balanced physique, it's like all the other categories, they very much are weighted towards certain muscle groups. Like figure, for example, obviously is going to be very weighted towards the lats. Whereas sports model, I feel like is a lot more balanced. And then because it's a fuller look, it's very much, I guess, like more everyday kind of like, I'm not to say you can't, like an everyday person could do it, but it's like everyday people look to it more. I don't know.
Lack of coordination. You mean people with 2 left feet like me can do that one?
No, it's the prep brain is really making it hard to describe.
We'll come back to that later.
It's what you would see on a magazine.
Yep, I'm so much clearer now. Thank you for clarifying that one.
What you would see on a fitness magazine.
There you go. Then we moved into the 50 plus. There was 3 ladies in that. Marcina McLean took that one out from Sophia Tuncliffe in second, and then Natasha King. And then we had the mamas class, which is always quite cool when you see all the families come up on stage, the kids. There wasn't so many of them there this time. I think there was only a couple. Tony Ashburn took that one out with Cat Miller Palatashi and Jackie Dos Santos taking it the top 3. And then we moved into the open. 4 ladies in that one. I thought that was pretty even right across. Well, it was fairly clear between Sarah and Tony. Those were the 2 front runners on that one. And then it was a battle again between the next 2 being Dev and Cassandra. Again, just came down to conditioning. So Sarah took that one out, and then she also went on to take out the overall. And I believe she looked awesome, but that was a pro qualifier. And she also took out the fitness model, didn't she?
Yeah. I thought she was, we'll get to that later, but I thought she was very clear winner for fitness. She has a great fitness look. I feel like for sports model, doesn't quite have the fullness that I would usually picture for sports model.
I thought she was a bit
Yeah,
hard
I think
for
she's a
swimsuit.
very, very good fit for fitness model.
Yeah. God, we sounded like a bunch of miserable old bastards today. I would pick this apart.
Hey,
But that's what we're here for. That was very constructive criticism, though, Rachel. I'll keep, you've got a future career in judging. Then we get to our favourite class of the evening. That was the runway one. Rachel, you can explain this one to me because I'm still lost.
I mean, you've got the sheet in front of you, but basically,
Still doesn't make any sense to me.
runway is very much that model look. They're looking like you're wearing pretty much an evening gown, like a ball dress type situation. So you have a full length dress. You can do pretty much whatever poses you want. They just say hit a front pose, hit a back pose, and it's very much judged on your posing, presentation. How your dress fits is also very important. It's part of the judging and very much based on shape over muscularity or conditioning. So they are very much looking for shape, and I guess it's like presentation as well is very important. So making sure the dress, the hair, the makeup, everything is giving that model look.
The cheat sheet here says poses with poise and gracefulness.
Yes.
And it's interesting in that one, like you had, was it five ladies in that, and all very different dress styles that some of them worked they were all fantastic dresses. They were all individually made for them. They looked, all the ladies looked stunning, but they all had very different styles. And I think not all of them worked for their physiques. They were great dresses, don't get me wrong, but like Rachel's one, for example, is, and I'm sure my wife will put up the little Instagram cartoon reel of Barbie doll here that she did, which is very cute, much better than the one she did of me. But it did have a really, the dress worked for Rachel as much as Rachel worked the dress. And I think that was, it showed the curves where they were supposed to be curves. It showed some flow and some elegance when she was doing her poses. You did a really interesting back pose where you made a very good decision not to do the bikini or the swimsuit back pose, and your legs were a lot more tightly positioned and you stood a lot taller. And I thought that really worked with the whole, your whole structure. And I think that was a really good one. So,
well, because looking at that category, there's no set back pose. They literally say you can do your pose however you want. And then I feel like from when I've looked at other runway lineups, doing the back pose with the legs wide, it just and straight on, it doesn't usually, the dress, it doesn't usually work. It doesn't do you too many favors. It can make you look very rectangular because it's not designed for that. It means there's no gap between the legs and it doesn't show your shape properly. So I decided to do more of a T pose from the back just to really work the curves of how I made the dress as well. Because obviously I had the flare at the bottom and then the top was very skin tight. So I made sure that the pose was kind of tailored to my dress.
Yeah, it was, other than the odd tanning makeup issue that went around with that one, it was running around, fill that in.
Yeah, oh my God, the crystals on the front pulled off the tan all from my chest when I put it on because I made the bad decision to not put a zip on it and the fabric didn't quite stretch as much as I thought, so it was very difficult to get on. And yes, all the tan got scraped off my chest, so that was fun. Yeah, and I couldn't get my earring in.
Yes, there were a few little issues going on backstage for that.
Took about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was just standing there going, it's like, this is going to hurt. She's ramming this earring into her ear, and I'm I was like, Rachel, just. This is why we should do clip-ons, ladies and gentlemen, because that was not pretty to watch. And then it was after this that we had the coffee incident, which we can talk about.
Well, yes, we'll come to that. But yes, runway. No, I did really like the sparkles on Anna's dress, I will say. As soon as she pulled it out backstage, I was like, oh, sparkles.
Well, to be fair, it was pretty hard to miss the sparkles on that dress. It was very sparkly. And
it was.
Beautiful, yeah. I mean, she walked on stage. Yeah, no, there were some really good examples of that, and again, hopefully, it's something we see continue to grow. I think maybe a little bit more structure around it would be a good idea. Like, what are the poses? Rather than just sort of let it be for free for all and tango. And
I think the main
wardrobe malfunction.
Well, the main issue I think is that a lot of people who enter runway, they're entering because they want to build up confidence to go to the categories with wearing less, which means a lot of the time their first time is they're early on in their career and they haven't actually built up their posing. So I think the paradox that ends up with that is that you end up with a category that's very heavily judged on posing and presentation with people who haven't specifically worked their posing and presentation for the category.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. I think though it would be easier from a judging perspective if there were some standard, even if it was just front and back. No quarter turns, just
There wasn't.
you know.
There wasn't actually supposed to be a quarter turn. I don't think.
No,
It was
no,
in
but I'm saying
the.
from setting it from a judging perspective, if they just sort of said, okay, here's a front pose, here's a back pose, that's relatively simple for you to be able to practice rather than all the,
But I guess the other
transitions.
logic is that you would work the pose to the dress. So depending on what shape dress you wear, that would change how you pose.
True. All right, moving on. Don't know what I'm talking about. It's
So,
probably the most. I'm not going to say salty. I'm going to say there was a little bit of chatter, shall we say, about around the wellness class. It was a good, strong lineup this time. I mean, there was at least 10 girls in wellness, which is great. And often people have heard me say one of the gripes I've had about wellness in particular, and this doesn't just apply to the ICN, it applies to all the federation, is it's frequently not wellness girls. It's just girls who unfortunately struggle to bring their lower body in condition. In this case, not to play down on any of the other category, any of the other ladies in it, but there were two in particular that did stand out as being what I would say proper wellness, being Brooke O'Keefe and Grace. Is it Burke or Book?
yes, Burke, I think.
So yeah, it was both of those two ladies. Grace took out the novice class, took out the 30 plus, and then when it came down to the open, pretty much it was between Grace and both of those two ladies. I thought were very good examples of the wellness class. And I know in particular Brooke does listen to the podcast, so hopefully she still listens to us after today. I felt that Grace had a better quad sweeps to shape her legs from the side, particularly when she stood from the side. Very noticeable leg structure when she walked out on stage.
She definitely has a lot of quads, Grace. She has, fantastic quads. And you can see it especially in that side pose.
Yeah. And whereas you could easily say that in the Brooke probably has much more predominant glute development and very noticeable in the back pose. I think she took that pose, the back pose.
Yeah.
And you would be splitting hairs more than likely when you get to the front pose, the side pose, looking at the top four lineup. I would say Grace brings her shoulders around a little bit more, so she managed to show off that taper a little bit stronger than Brooke. And I would say the conditioning on both of them, whilst obviously it will be improved come nationals, I would say that Grace was just a little bit ahead in this show. But it was a good battle, I thought, for two very good exponents or examples of the wellness class.
Yeah, it is quite interesting in that front pose with Grace and Brooke, because Brooke obviously brings the glutes, and she has, very much that predominant glute shape that stands out, whereas Grace brings the quads and hamstrings and the leg thickness. Also, Grace is actually, Brooke is slightly disadvantaged being quite tall for a wellness athlete, I will say, which does make it harder to get that size. But no.
Brooke's I don't know, every time I saw her backstage, she was lying down asleep. I kept going, hey.
Well, I mean, if you could see the photos. Sorry, guys, I'm actually looking at photos as we do that. That's why I keep looking down. I'm not scrolling through Facebook because Chris is boring. I apologize.
Welcome to a day of my life, everybody. This is what I have to put up with.
So yeah, it's really interesting because from the front, it's very much like, do you reward the glute projection or do you reward the thicker legs? And then I definitely do think that Brooke had the back shot. She has a fantastic back shot.
I think to be fair, if Brooke was slightly more conditioned, the results would have switched around.
Yeah, which she has told me she will be doing for nationals.
Good. Otherwise, we can kick Coach Darren's ass for not doing that. Now, I thought that was a really good class. I mean, as I said, there were several ladies right across the board, but I think those two were the standouts. So to all the other ladies competed, if we've not mentioned you, I apologise in advance. But the first time was also taken out by Grace. She took out the novice and the open, and there was, that was all that one. So next we moved on to fitness model.
Yes.
Not a very big lineup this show of fitness model. I think there was really only 4.
Yeah, there wasn't many. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think.
Yeah, and that was again, was it Sarah Viju was in that one.
Yes.
And she was definitely the most complete, most balanced. 64 Tony, who
her suit was really cool. I did love her suit color. It was like a red black ombre.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah,
that was really cool.
And
Wasn't one of
then,
mine, but I have done similar. But I love the red black combo. Oh, I actually just saw she actually has a little bit of red in her hair, I think.
yeah, she did have a few little
Oh,
highlights
that's
there in the
cool.
front.
That is so cool. Her hair was red and black too. Ah, awesome.
Don't go getting any ideas. But
Put some
Sarah
pink.
was in novice and open. She took out both of those classes. I thought the novice class was really, really strong with Hayley and Tony as well. Hayley was also in the 40 plus with Tony, and then Tony was in the open with Sarah. So Tony was 64 with the fantastic swimsuit, and
Yes. She
I
had
thought
great.
Tony
Oh, sorry. I was going to say.
really good condition back.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I thought her back was really awesome. Her upper back, she had great muscularity and conditioning. So yeah, we're on the same page there.
Excellent for once. Whereas Hayley, I think, had a denser back, probably not quite as tight condition, and also would probably benefit from her back pose was a little too vertical with her legs. They were sort of straight up and down. So
Needs to push the knees out a little bit.
Yeah. But other than that, it's a very competitive class. But Sarah owned it, and I think, as you said before, this is her class. This is where she should be competing. She's harder. She's got more definition, more symmetry. I think it's Ms. Fitness model is more appropriate to her than Ms. Sports model. But hey, she won both of them. So hey, what do I know?
Who shows up? But I thought she was fantastic. She definitely took this category. That was, for me, very clear win for Sarah. So well done, Sarah.
Yeah, well, golf claps all around for that. And I guess the last class today that we're looking at was the largest of the girls' classes, and that was the Ms. Bikini, which again
was sports model not bigger? No, it wasn't. No, you're right. Sorry, close though. Close. Yeah, but yes, bikini model.
Yeah, there was again big lineups in that. You had 5 and first timers. Actually they split that to 2. You had under 23. There were 5, and then you had first timers. You had 6. And then 7. My math ain't that good, but that's 13. The novice, there were 9. That's really cool. And then even in the 30 plus, there were 3. 40 plus, there were 3. The mama class, there were 2.
They had 3 first timer classes. 2. Oh no, hang on. No. Bikini model. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at under 23. I lied. Sorry. Yeah. It was 2. Under
23 was. That was again in this class. You had Tasha McCauley. He probably could argue was probably the star of the show, maybe between her and Emily, is it Jancy? But those two, Tasha was kind of the one you could tell that they were really looking at. And when she came out in this class, you could see they were just like, they were like, it was probably again, I felt that the sports model was more of her class than the bikini, because I think she's a powerful little pocket rocket, for a lack of a better term. But she's got really good stage presence, and that front pose of hers is just is beautiful. And her just stage presence and her smile and her presentation, and her and her coaching team have done a great job. So we take our hats off to her. And then
I will say though, I actually like her front pose better in the swimsuit.
Yeah.
Sorry, my observation, not necessarily good or bad thing for either way, but I think I like her swimsuit look from the front.
Yeah, I think her swimsuit look from the front is she's got that pose is really, really good.
That was like knockout.
Yeah, and as soon as she stood the lineup, I don't think there were any comparisons or anything there. She would know. The only thing I would point out is she does, and this happened a lot in the posing. A lot of the girls have a tendency to raise one shoulder up, so they end up sort of
doing the hunch.
It's like I don't know.
It's lack of mobility usually. I'm lucky I'm hypermobile. I don't usually have that issue.
That's not your problem, no. Then who else did we have in that class? So in 4th was Emily Hurst, 3rd Lily Tarari, and then 2nd was Tasman Hepburn. I really like Tasman's look as well. I think she's got a really good frame for bikini. Her and Lily, I think in particular, they really stood out, and they were strong in that class. So hats off to those ladies.
Yeah, I just want to say awesome improvements for Tasman from last year as well, because I was actually looking back at photos, and we were in the same class last year as well at Nationals, and she's made some major improvements. So well done, Tasman, for that.
Well done, Tasman.
Great improvements on the shoulders and hamstrings especially. Me being a stalker. What class are we up to?
First timers. So first timers, we had Tasha McCauley again took that one out. Kind of seemed unfair at this point. Dev Spark.
Get rid of her.
Yeah, it's like, you've already won enough. Come on, I'll give everybody else a shot.
Honestly, we were saying that about Emily. We were like when we were backstage by the end of it, we were like, Hang on a second. Is there even an overall at this point? Does Emily not just win by default?
Mhm.
Sorry, we interrupted.
Yes, line of thought. Moving on. So yeah, first timers you had Dev Spark was in second, and Caitlin Mason was in third. I thought this is where I think the wheels started to fall off a little bit. At the risk of getting myself in trouble, which, as we all know, I really don't get overly concerned about, the posing started to go south. There was a lot of over posing, a lot of unnecessary hand movements, which have obviously been drilled by various coaches for whatever reason, which may work for them, for the coach. They don't necessarily work for the athletes. And I think it was at this point that started to become very, very obvious. And there was just a lot of really inconsistent posing from here on in. The girls that won clearly deserved to win, but I think some of these posing coaches need to have a really good, strong look at what they're teaching people, because you're not. And if you've got a problem with that, you got my email address. I don't care. That's just what I saw. Rachel can disagree now to save us and get me out of trouble. She's just like, I'm out.
This is all Chris. I have nothing to do with this.
That's not true.
Excuse
Hey, we had people there say that they like the fact that we have this friendly banter and just like two friends having a chat. And you just right about now you'd be going, I'm going home.
This isn't a friendly chat anymore.
All right,
anyway, no, yeah, posing is very, very important though, guys. Make sure you are working on your posing. And that's all I will say.
In the second class for first timers, we had who I think was probably particularly in this particular class, the bikini, who very, very stood out straight away. Had an amazing front pose. I mean, it was also, I do believe that is now Rachel's secret girl crush.
Yeah,
she was texting me backstage going, oh my God, that's it.
Literally. Okay, so if anyone knows Emily, send her this part, because holy shit, we were all backstage and I was like backstage texting Chris and I was like, holy fuck, this girl's won. I'm out. I'm done. I have no chance. Like, there's this girl here. I'm just hoping and praying that she's doing fitness, because fitness was still on at that point. Please be doing fitness. And then she wasn't. And I was like,
yeah, it was pretty much along those lines. And I was like, just can't. And then she walked down and went, yeah. I mean, even as a coach,
Chris saw what I meant. And he was like, oh, shit.
I was like, yep, all right. Okay, so about nationals. She really had a beautiful front pose and just a really good stage presence.
She was just beautiful.
Yeah, she was.
I was actually talking with another girl backstage that was like kind of us three just before we were going on. And then there was another girl who was a first timer and she was kind of having a little bit of a like, oh my God, I'm not ready like to be on stage kind of moment, as we all do. And then I was like, no, it's your first time. Don't even stress. You're fine. Improvements. And then she looked at the other girl and was like, oh, so have you competed before? And I was like, no, ignore this bitch. She doesn't count.
Yeah, it was pretty much like, sure you haven't competed? I was like, damn. Yeah. The only one particular, not even criticism, but I think something that Emily needs to work on.
Hey, now don't tell her to improve.
For somebody who was as stunning and as striking and as athletic as she very, very timid on stage in her poses and transitions, and frequently looked like she didn't know what she was supposed to do next. Okay. First timer, granted, but okay, it doesn't really bode well for everybody else that she's got there to work on. But I think that was something that she did. Her stage presence in a stronger show would have worked against her, because, as I said, I think her front pose was next level. Then I think her back pose was okay, and her side pose was what she needs to work on, and not just the posing, but also structural wise. But she was clearly the one that she walked out, and the judges just went, much like Rachel's reaction backstage, and I don't really think the other girls had a look in after that. Judges, but again, this is what I saw.
I'm going to be honest, the scary part is that she can hit those front poses better, and that's what's scary, because backstage, I think her glutes actually looked better when I was looking at her backstage than what I see in the photos when she was doing her poses, so she can definitely hit those poses better, which is the terrifying part for me.
Yeah, no, her front
Emily, you're amazing. We love you.
We did. We loved. We did very much. As I said, it's the side poses that I think she struggles with the confidence, but I think overall it was a really, really good.
She was stunning. She was absolutely just knockout.
Yeah. Bikini color, everything just worked for her. And then, as I said, unfortunate for everybody else that was in the class. And third was Kirsty in that class, and second was Antonia, who I thought Antonia did really, really well.
I really loved Antonia's look.
Again, for a first timer, I know she's had quite a journey to stage from a weight loss perspective, and you wouldn't know that looking at her.
You would not believe it, no, because I believe from the top of my head, Antonia could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was over 30 kgs or around 30 kgs that she lost, which is so impressive. And I remember like talking to her backstage, like, oh my God, her skin is so good, nice. Like,
Mm.
you would never guess that she'd lost all that weight. You would never be able to see it. It was craziness. So
Yeah,
huge shout out to Antonia.
Yeah, there were no signs to it. And she had him on backstage too. She was really cute, after you fixed a bikini for her, because that was what you do. So, yeah, she was lovely. And I think she's got a really, as she continues to go and shifts away from a focus of, say, from a weight loss journey and more into an athletic journey, I think she'll be
scary.
one to watch.
Yeah, I do wish that they had put Antonia next to Emily at some point, because they were at opposite ends of the stage. Like, Antonia was at one side and then Emily was on the other side, and I really wish they had actually put them next to each other, because I think Antonia's back shot especially was actually quite comparable to Emily, who obviously won the whole show. So it would have been really cool to see those two next to each other to battle it out.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of comparison going on. It was like, as I said, the decision was made as soon as Emily walked out. It was fairly obvious. That's how the decision was made, which is cool. That's just how it goes sometimes. And then what did we have? We had the novice. So in that one, this was pretty much the decider for the overall. So whoever won this was going to pretty much, at that stage, it was fairly obvious that was going to be the front runner for the overall. And that was between the two darlings of the day, Emily and Tasha. And Emily ended up taking that one with Tasman Hepburn in third, and Antonia came in fourth, doing really, really well. So that was a tough class to be in, the novice, and sort of open. That was sort of became like, okay, well, this is pretty much how it's going to go, unless somebody phenomenal came out of the woodwork, and you hadn't given me any heads up of any goddesses backstage, so I was like, pretty much this is it.
Oh well, I did. I gave you the heads up of Emily.
Yeah, that's what I said. If there's anybody other than her, and I was like, no.
But yeah, I do think this class kind of, I guess, proved a point to me when I was looking at it, that fullness was what they were kind of going for on that day, because really Antonia and Tasman could have been a toss-up depending on if they were wanting conditioning or fullness.
Two different looks, very different looks. Yeah,
because I do think that Antonia had the better back shot. And then, she definitely had the better conditioning from the front as well. So, again, it's just different looks of what they were going for. And I think, that was kind of over across the show. I noticed that, definitely fuller look was what they were rewarding.
And the other thing that shocked me was that Emily came out and won the 30 plus.
Oh, yeah, you messaged me about that.
When she walked out, I was like, huh?
I got the message and Chris is like, wait, she's 30 plus? What?
Yeah, I was like, okay. I said, my brother, well, you've got a few more years on your sleeve to catch up with her.
So she'd come out with like Bikini Mama, and then that would be the absolute soul crusher.
Yeah, that probably would have just hurt. So Emily took out that one. And then the 40 plus, Anna Marie Hampton, she took out the 40 plus, well done. And with Jackie Dos Santos in second. And then the Bikini Mamas, Shadia Faramand took that one out. She looked amazing, I thought. And then we moved on to the big girls, the tall girls, the most experienced girls, the open class. This I thought was a really interesting class, just because the lovely Rachel Mead was in it. But there was very, very different looks. There was, again, posing was all over the freaking place. It was from excellent to shockingly poor. I'm sorry, ladies. That's not your fault. It's just, how you talk. But it was, again, I think the decision was made fairly quickly as to the winner was in this one. And again, I'm not one of the judges. I'm just somebody with an opinion. For me, there were 4 poses. I think Emily took 1. I think Antonia potentially took 1. I think Rachel took 1. And you could argue that Tasman also took 1.
Just to make things really easy for the judges.
Yeah. Emily, sorry, judges, you had your work cut out for you, that one. Emily clearly owned the front pose. That was just hers 100%, and she just looks stunning. You could argue that Antonia, who ended up 5th, took the back pose.
That surprised me that Antonia was 5th.
Yeah, I thought she would have been 3rd or 4th, to be fair. But again, it was a tough class, and the judges had their work cut out for them. And then Rachel clearly takes one side. That's one of her strengths, is the side pose. And then I would have tossed up with potentially Tasman taking the other one, because it does, sometimes she was tired, gets a bit lazy on one side. So I thought the top 3 were really, really competitive in particular, and you could have easily switched any of those placings around. So I'm not saying anybody didn't deserve their placing. Being salty about that, where it was, those are the results. I think there should have been a bit more comparison of those poses, particularly against those 3 girls. The decision was made for Emily fairly quickly. She was moved out to the side. but it ended where it did. And Emily had a very well-earned and justified victory in this class, and also got a pro qualifier card as well. So I would say she was the start, probably herself and, sorry, brain fade, obviously Tasha were the stars of the show, with also the other one who really stood out, I think, was just scrolling back through. In the fitness, she won
Sarah?
sports model overall. Yeah,
Sarah.
So those three ladies, I think, were the stars of the show. All in all, I thought it was a really good, strong showing. I think there was a really good audience. There was a good vibe there for most part of the show. It was until the coffee cart went, and then Rachel couldn't get her coffee.
Was devastating.
Yes, so we had to send my wife on a mission to get her a coffee, and then we'll save that story for another day, because frankly, she'll probably kill both of us if we tell.
But just the heartbreak of, like, I went in and I walking in about to compete, I was like, oh my god, there's coffee cart, beautiful. As soon as that swimsuit's done, my first category, I'm gonna go get a coffee. We finished swimsuit, and apparently the coffee cart had just left, because I was looking at people walking around with their coffee cups still. They had just got a coffee and hadn't finished it yet. It was devastating.
Yeah, it was.
That is heartbreaking.
It wasn't pretty. You could hear the sobs coming from the audience. It was quite fun. Mm-hmm. But we did get her coffee. It was a long, convoluted story which involved my wife mortally embarrassing herself, and I'm not sure we're allowed back in Christchurch after that. We'll save that one for another day so she doesn't hurt us both. But I think the team at ICN did a great show. Did a great job. It was a really good venue. The live stream I thought was a really nice touch, so congratulations to you guys for that one, and to all the athletes that competed that were from all around the country and all around the South Island. It did really turn into a North versus South battle, and I think the South probably came out ahead in this one.
Something in the water.
Yeah, well, there's definitely something in the water for those figure girls, because they all seem to live down there. So yeah, we just again acknowledged the fact that there were some really competitive physiques up on the stage. And this was a really good show, really competitive, nicely run. The lighting, I think, could probably be a bit better, but that's all right. That happens in most venues. How about you, Rachel? How did you enjoy the experience backstage? Everything else was all good down there?
It was really chill. I always love with ICN, there's athlete entry list, so you can always see who's up when, who's in your class, and you can also see, they usually have a projector that shows you where they're up to. So they had the live stream going on the projector, which was really cool because you can actually watch people from backstage rather than having to actually go behind the stage to watch. So yeah, always love having that. I've also taken notes because I saw some people with camping stretchers, which was genius. That was absolutely genius.
Yeah, we'll get one of those for you for nationals.
Yeah, but yeah, no, good vibes backstage. Everyone was really helpful, and everyone's all really nice, like just chilling out. It was pretty chilled vibes backstage. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it seemed pretty good backstage, which was good. So again, yeah. So congratulations to everybody who competed and who is going on to do nationals up in Taupo, which is not that far away. So we do wish you well with your continued training and your prep season. We do love your feedback, so please feel free to comment. And Rachel, anything else you want to add before we say goodbye to these fantastic people?
Well, just keep working into nationals. Show season's really only just starting for a lot of people, so keep it up. Almost there. The last couple of weeks are always the worst. Enjoy the process. And if you have finished for the season, enjoy your food and freedom and lack of cardio.
Not that she's bitter about that at all.
Next week, we'll be talking about the NZIFBB Auckland Natural and Open Regionals, and we'll also be preparing for the follow-on shows for everybody as they get ready for the National Champs. If you like today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so you don't miss the next one. And if you're enjoying the Macro Lounge, leave us a rating or a review. It really helps more athletes find the show. And you can always follow us on Instagram at the Macro Lounge Podcast. On behalf of Rachel and myself, thank you for listening, and we will see you next Saturday.